What's going on, people? Welcome back to the opposition preview as we look ahead to the game against Wolves on Tuesday night. A massive tie between 12th and 13th. Similar seasons for both teams, but I'm joined by Dave from Talking Wolves channel to look ahead to the game, to look ahead to the game and get all the insights. Dave, thank you for coming back onto the channel. Always a pleasure talking to you, bro. Look, we're both going into this game, as I mentioned, with different managers. I'll be honest, we've had some very good results against Wolves, and not just results, performances under Vieira. But it seems like both sides are safe. We should be safe now to the rest of the season. But recently, talk about recently, your last game, you lost against Leicester. So what's the feeling like around the Wolves fan base, ahead of this game, going to the end of the season?
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me back on again, man. Yeah, we've had some close games, I would say. I remember I went to Selhurst Park for the reverse fixture earlier this season, and at half time I was loving life. We played really well, and then second half, I don't know what happened. So, yeah, I mean, before yesterday's game, we picked up a little bit of form, to be fair, mate. We, drawn away at Forest and then had two back-to-back home games against Chelsea and Brentford, and we won both of those games, keeping clean sheets in both of those games, and it put us in a much better position in the league table. Yesterday against Leicester was frustrating because, like I said to you before we started, first half, mainly the first 25 minutes, half an hour, we played fantastic. Some of our best football so far this season. Really high press. Leicester were all over the place, and we went 1-0 up. Unfortunately, we gave away a penalty. Jose saw fouling Vardy, and they get their equaliser. And after that, we just never got ourselves back into the game. It looked like we were just fighting for our lives just to get to half time. Then, to be fair to Dean Smith, he changed it up for Leicester, brought Vardy off, brought on another midfielder, and Leicester just managed to hold on to the ball a lot better than Wolves. We brought Neves and Martinho on. It made us a lot slower, a lot more sort of negative and deeper. So yeah, it was just almost, you were just waiting for the Leicester goal for them to get the winner, to be honest. So that was disappointing, but I'm hoping, our home form has been pretty decent recently, especially under Lopetegui. I'm hoping that we can get back to some sort of normality on Tuesday.
So let's talk about Lopetegui. Of course, we know about Roy Hodgson. There's not much to talk about there. We've faced you guys with Roy Hodgson in the past, but Lopetegui is going to be the first time. So what's exactly changed under Lopetegui compared to Bruno Lage? What can we expect?
Well, there's under Bruno Lage, obviously, we started off dreadfully this season. We had Steve Davis in charge, I think, when we were at Selhurst Park. So it was just after Bruno Lage had been sacked. And you sort of saw the team after about 50, 60 minutes just look shattered. The fitness levels were very poor. Lopetegui pointed that out as soon as he joined the team. He couldn't believe how unfit the squad was. So I think he's got that up to scratch for now. But just belief, and there was the morale was rock bottom. There was no belief in the squad, and I think that's what Lopetegui's got, and he's got us moving the ball a lot better, playing better going forward. Before yesterday's result, Wolves were 6th in the form table for results after the World Cup, so that's the effect that he's had. But it just seems every other week that there's still reservations about him as a manager, believe it or not. There's still people that question him. When in his early days, his first league game was against Everton. We went 1-0 down. We got ourselves back into the game shortly after, and then he completely changed the tactic mid-game, and we went on to win that match. And everyone's like, "Hold on, if he's able to just change things mid-game like that, rather than wait until breaks in play or wait until half-time, then we've got a decent manager here." Yeah. But there's been maybe every 3 out of 4 games, there's people are criticising the substitutions. Like yesterday against Leicester was one, people criticising his decisions in game, and it's been too hit and miss at the moment. Unfortunately for him, Lamina got injured. Mario Lamina has been one of his signings and been brilliant, but he got injured and brought Neves on, then brought Martinho on, and that just straight away slowed us down, made us play 10 or 15 yards further back, and just allowed the pressure from Leicester. So that's just the one thing that he's got to sharpen up on. I'm happy to give him a lot more time. I think he needs to get to the summer. Fingers crossed we stay as a Premier League, which I think we should do, and just shape up his own team. And we should be absolutely sound, I think.
Do you reckon he'll get the time then? If there's discontent amongst the fans?
Yeah. I think it's just at the moment it's just fans being Wolves fans being Wolves fans, and I think every fan base has got it. Just a certain almost fickleness about the fan base. We unbeaten in 3, and then all of a sudden lose a game. We've won 1 in about 30 at the King Power. Our form there is absolutely awful as it was. And I would have taken a point probably yesterday, but when there weren't any particularly bad performances, people are picking on Neves and then picking on Lopetegui. So those two who, a manager, world-class manager who's won European titles and our best player and captain are the scapegoats, people are just picking at things for the sake of it. So I think he'll be absolutely fine. Like I said earlier, his form since coming in has been very good. So yeah, he just needs time to shape his squad, and I think the club will give him that no problem.
Yeah, I reckon after the summer, you just need time. I feel like sometimes fans expect something too soon. They don't realize that
For
football's
sure.
not that straightforward, and you need a bit of time. So yeah, I think in the summer that's when your real time on the Lopetegui starts, and then you get to have like a proper rebuild and start something
For
fresh.
sure.
But talking about Palace, we've changed our managers as well. Fortunately for you, Roy Hodgson, similar to what to expect. But what have you made of our season from like a Wolves perspective? We're currently 12th. We got rid of Vieira. We picked up some decent results since Hodgson's come in.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, and I think it was obviously you spoke to yourself, and sort of the sort of picture I got from Palace fans were sort of before this season, especially things were looking a lot better under Vieira, more exciting. I think, to be fair, the start of the season you started off okay, but it was just that form, wasn't it, under Vieira? And I think when Hodgson came in, I was worried for you guys just because he's not a bad manager, Roy Hodgson. He's done it before in the Premier League. He's performed well with certain teams, but it just didn't seem like, for me as an outsider, it just didn't seem like a very exciting option for Palace. But I suppose in hindsight now, it's a safe pair of hands. Make sure you stay as a Premier League team next season because things were just going south for you. But he's done the complete opposite to what I expected, because I think it was the first game back. Was that against Leicester where you'd had tens of shots, like 30 plus shots?
Yeah.
I watched the game against Leeds as well. I don't get to sit down and watch many Premier League games, to be fair, but the Leeds game, I thought Leeds started off quite brightly, and then I just don't know what happened. I think I went out for 10 minutes and came back, and you guys were ahead, and just unbelievable that second half. So we just got you playing really exciting attacking football again, and I think I don't know, you'll know better than me. I think you had the players to do it. Obviously, Zaha's been in and out this season with injuries, but Eze, Elise, you've got some top and exciting players there, and it just needs the right system and the right coach. So I think the foundations are there for Palace to sort of make that next step up, because people, you look this season, Brentford are in and around sort of, not so much now, but could have been pushing for Europe. You still got Brighton up there. I think teams like Wolves, Palace, West Ham, have got the sort of backing and the facilities to make that step up. So I think it's just the right, next step for Palace. If Hodgson, I'd assume, is going to move on in the summer, get a new manager in that's going to take that, put Palace on the next platform.
Yeah. I think you summed up perfectly there. I mean, it's just Hodgson until the end of the season. Then we start again. We start again with a new manager. But saying that Vieira has built up a nice foundation for the next manager. We've got some decent players. Even these players under Roy said it. The players have said it. Vieira has contributed in a way to these type of performances because of what he set up before he left. And I was just time for us to kick on. It happens. I really rated Vieira, but it just didn't work out in the end. And you just move on. You just move on and try to do a bit better. But in terms of personnel, Ruben Neves, I want to start off with him because he's been, from neutral's perspective, he's one of your best players, or if not your best player, at Wolves at times. If you look at the last period or last year or two, he's been absolutely fantastic. But he was out with a suspension, came back in the Leicester game. But am I right in saying that Wolves fans, or it might be a small section, was not too sure whether he should be coming into the side?
Yeah, that was a big discussion going into this week, because obviously Neves got booked against Forest a few weeks ago, and that meant he hit 10 bookings and had a 2-game suspension. So he came out of the side. We introduced the young Brazilian that we signed in January, João Gomez, and him and Lamina were just sort of bossing the midfield, and they're just both full of energy. Against Chelsea and against Brentford, their midfielders were just getting suffocated, and we were playing brilliantly. And like I said, some of our best football in those last 2 games. So with Neves coming or being available again, and there's been so many rumours about Neves moving on in the summer, those last 2 weeks almost made Wolves fans think actually we'll be okay with him. Obviously we'll bring different players in the midfield, but we might actually be okay without Ruben Neves. So the discussion all throughout the last week was, should he come back into the team? And a large portion of Wolves fans saying, it's only fair that, we've won 2 games on the bounce. You don't change a winning team. And that's been one thing for Lopetegui. He's really struggled to get a consistent lineup. And the 2 games that he plays pretty much the same 11, they get 2 wins. So I was fully in agreement that he should have stuck with the same team, which is what he did. And, for the first half an hour or so, we played really well, got to half time. Unfortunately, Lamina had to come off injured. And I don't want to pick on Neves, but he came on and we just looked a lot slower and more negative as a team, which just sounds absolutely crazy, really, because like you said, he's our best player. Technically, he's an absolutely phenomenal footballer. But I think with the way Lopetegui probably wants to play and the way that Wolves have the most joy, he probably doesn't quite fit into it at the moment.
Yeah. Any other players that we should be watching out for? Who else is in form?
Nunes, although he was quiet against Leicester, has really kicked on over the last few weeks. He came in from Sporting in the summer and has a really slow start to life in England, but probably since the Chelsea games looked really bright in the last 2 games at Molineux. Diego Costa, believe it or not, as well, has turned into a little bit of a menace. Him and Mateus Cunha. Cunha again struggled to make an impact since coming in January, but with those 2 playing next to each other, almost as like a number 9 and number 10, it seems to be working quite well. I'd expect them both to start again against Palace. So it'll be interesting. I really hope Lamina is fit for this game, but it sounds like he's got a hamstring issue, so he probably won't. So I am intrigued to see how Lopetegui starts, because I'd assume Neves will come in and start, but let's just see how we play, because like I said, Neves just seems to slow us down just that little bit. So I'll be intrigued to see who plays alongside him.
Yeah, so in terms of tactics, we spoke a bit about Lopetegui and just the general perspective, but what is it that is one of your strengths or potentially one of your weaknesses in the side that we could exploit, or, we have to look out for?
It's really weird because it's hard to pinpoint the exact sort of shape and tactic that Lopetegui plays as well, because it's certainly, it could be a 4-3-3, it could be a 4-2-3-1, a 4-4-2, because he plays Nunes, who predominantly you would say is a central midfielder, but he almost is playing, he's drifting out wide right as a sort of a right winger. So a 4-2-3-1 is probably the closest sort of way you'd say we were playing. I think on the counter-attack, especially at home, that's probably where you're going to get us. We try and dominate the possession a little bit more in the home games, especially against sort of teams outside the top 6, I would say. And I think that's what will happen. But Wolves have got to be cautious. We did get caught out once or twice against Brentford, where, they have got quick attackers and they tried to get us on the break. We'll have a high line. The back four will be sat on the halfway line. But if you can catch, obviously, Craig Dawson, Max Kilman, they're not the quickest the defenders out. I think that's where Palace will have a bit of joy in. And obviously, you've got a lot of pace going forward. So that's probably where Palace will look to exploit Wolves.
Yeah, we're not that kind of red and blue yet. We're not that kind of red and blue yet. Yeah, it's gonna take us a few more seasons to reach that level, but at least you're seeing the vision as well. I think that's gonna excite most fans, because it's funny because we actually like to keep the ball under Hodgson. It's not as counter-attacking at times as you think. Saying that, against Everton, maybe they let us keep the ball. That's the reason. But against Leeds, if you saw the second half, there was so many spaces in behind because we just hit them on the counter, and then afterwards, the game was overdone with, and we just decided to keep the ball and just destroy them like that. But yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting to hear, because I can see Palace just sitting back and using the pace of the likes of Eze's and Elise's. And funny enough, we haven't even had Zaha properly since Hodgson's come in. He's only played about 20 minutes or so. Then he got injured. So yeah, he might be back for this game, and that'll be very interesting to see. But how do you see this one going then, Dave? We've had some decent results against Wolves, especially last season. I think it was home and away we beat you. This season, first fixture, Manchester beat you then as well. But I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as that. There's 2 different managers. Saying that, I think it should be a tight game.
I think it'll be very close, and I think if a team gets the win, it will probably only be by 1 goal either way, to be honest. I think with Wolves, and probably the same with Palace, it's just consistency for us at the minute. For us to go 3 unbeaten and winning the last 2, to then throwing it away against Leicester, who have only won 1 since, Feb, is obviously really frustrating for us. But it just really depends on the situation, who's fit. Obviously, with us only playing a few days ago, but at home, it gives me encouragement. I think we've kept 4 or 5 clean sheets out of our last 5 or 6 games at home. Defensively, we've looked a hell of a lot better. But just for Wolves, I think the key is try and get a goal as early as we can, because at home we should be able to shut up shop and see the game out, and that's what we've done over the last couple of games. So, but I think it will be really close because Palace have got a lot of quality, and when they turn it on and get out of first gear, they're a really, really difficult team to stop. And obviously, we saw that in games like I mentioned earlier against Leeds.
Yeah. So what's the score prediction then?
Oh, my head is probably saying a 1-1 draw, but my heart will go with a 2-1 Wolves win.
2-1 Wolves win. I don't. It's hard for me as well. I've asked the question, but I haven't really thought about it. It's part of me just thinking it could easily be like a 1-0 to either Wolves or Palace. I could see that happening. I don't think it would be a game where there's going to be lots of goals flowing. But saying that, I'm expecting it to be less tighter than it was against Everton. Against Everton, they were just sitting back consistently, and it was the most boring game. Honestly, we've done the videos about it, but there's genuinely nothing to speak about in that game. It was just such a boring 0-0 draw. I think in this game there'll be a bit more excitement, especially on the counter attack to hurt you guys. As you mentioned, you like to keep the ball, so I'm gonna go for 1-0 Palace, but it can easily be 1-1 as well. I can easily see another draw happening in this game. But let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. How do you see this game going? And also, before you do head out, make sure to check out the Talking Wolves channel. Dave, any other platforms they can find you in? So is it Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, we're Talking Wolves pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and obviously the YouTube. So yeah, we'll have our preview out as well if you want to catch these thoughts ahead of the game.
Yeah, so make sure to check that out. The link will be in the description down below. Thank you to Dave for joining. And until next time, up the pad.